All right, so I'm going to be successful. And just before anyone starts to sit there and question why I'm saying that, whatever, I've been having such weird, vivid dreams recently to the point where I don't know, I want to talk about it. So I want to be successful, and I'm going to be, but not for the reasons why you might think. I don't want to be like, famous or whatever. Like, I want random people to walk by me in the street and know who I am. I don't want them to fangirl over me. I don't want to be wealthy. I don't want to be, super rich. I don't want to be some celebrity superstar. All that, no. I've always wanted people to know who I am. But how did I get to that point, and where am I at now? So my entire life, I've always wondered, like, kind of what my purpose is. Like, I feel like everyone gets to that point. And my story is, I feel like almost the exact same as everybody else's, but I definitely feel as if I see the world a little bit differently. And it didn't really start to occur to me until I started seeing myself from a different perspective. Mainly because every time I try something new in this world, it takes me a while to realize that I've always been doing the same thing in a different way. So here's how it's gonna go. Ever since I was young, ever since I was a kid, I've always been scared of the world. I'm scared of what people might think of me if I'm doing something wrong. There's always that thought in my head that I'm gonna upset somebody. So growing up, I was a massive introvert. I stood inside, I sat inside, I kept myself from the world, and I was scared of it. And if I ever had to do anything at all, somebody else always had to be the person in charge. They always had to be the one who told me what to do, because I lied to myself saying that the only way I could do anything truly wrong is if I made my own decision. And it worked for a while, but in the process of doing so, I learned a lot about myself. I would, avoid people at all costs, because the idea of meeting somebody new was terrifying. I absolutely hated it. So I would not ever meet new people unless I absolutely had to. And it worked for a while, like I said. I went through my day-to-day process. I observed the world every single day. I'd go to school, I played my Game Boy, I did whatever I needed to do. And then every once in a while I'd wake up and I wanted a little bit more from the world. So I started playing soccer. I was pretty decent at it, whatever. Didn't enjoy it. I tried it, whatever. Let it go, went right back to my room, my safe spot. Not that big of a deal. It's fine. It's cool. It's whatever. And then, a few years, go on and go by, and I wanted more from the world again. Mainly because I was getting bullied a little bit, whatever. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it affected me. So I'm like, all right, well, how can I solve this problem and make myself better in the process? So I started working out. And I got pretty strong. Wasn't the biggest feat in the world, but I started to get a little attention. People started to realize that I was stronger than the person next to me. All right, so I accomplished something. People know who I am because of my size. I was a little bit bigger. I wasn't the tallest guy in the world, but you could tell I put in more effort than the person next to me. And I started to learn these little small lessons that the average person, I guess, either knew, didn't know, didn't talk about, whatever it might be. But I started to catch what I refer to as like the bug of realizing the things that I want out of life. And this was right around the age of about 9 or 10 years old. Started to get pretty big, and I'm like, all right, what can I do with this? So I started playing football. I was by no means anywhere close to being the most talented person on the field. I was not that good at all by any means or stretch of the word. I had absolutely zero raw talent. But the way I played was I was the person who definitely wanted it more in the field. I had something more to prove. And you could tell that. I got absolutely nowhere with it. I mean, I tore my ACL in high school. But it started to dawn on me what exactly my overall goals were to accomplish. Is that I really did want to be known. And doing little things like that, you start to get to the point where you're realizing in the world what you want. And it wasn't until I started, right before I hit college, before I started to really see the world for what it was, or what I wanted to see from the world, at least. And I started college at Howard Community College. Wasn't the biggest thing in the world, but looking around, everyone had their group of friends. Everyone had their thing that the people knew them for. It's like, oh, this person's in drama. This is an art major. The stuff that separated everybody was also kind of making them find their spot, their place in the world. I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Where am I at? I was kind of in the middle of everything. I was a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, whatever it might be. And I'm like, is this what I want from the world? Do I want to be the jack of all trades kind of person? No. It's exhausting. Why would I want to do that? So I kept on looking around, kept on doing more things, and I was learning in the process. I even took notes for a while. I actually have a notebook somewhere at my parents' house. And it was kind of working for a while. Like I said, I'm learning more and more things. I just knew at some point that I was going to find exactly what I'm looking for. And then nothing really came out of that. Started playing football, kind of, at Towson University. And I got introduced to an entire new world of people who are just born to be just freak athletes. And it almost seems as if a lot of things were handed to them. But not really. It was strange to me. Everyone around me was significantly better. They did everything better than me. And I'm like, dude, this sucks. I have to work a lot harder than everybody else just to sit there and be like subpar. Like this is horrible. But I got to see people for the world that they made for themselves with the raw talent that they adopted early, that they were given, and they did a lot with it. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I still don't know what I have. So I kept on trying more and more things. Great, cool. And it wasn't until I woke up one day and I realized that the thing that I was searching for at the time period was a way of being seen without being seen. Because I wanted people to know who I was, but I didn't want to be recognized. I'm like, all right, how can I do that? And there's a beautiful app first kind of got my idea, or got this kind of train going. It's an app called Yik Yak, and I believe it's around again now too, which I should probably look more into. I'll get around to that. And it was kind of an anonymous Twitter for a geofence-based area. So you could say your mind, speak your mind, and no one has to know who you are. It could be whatever you say. It could be from anybody. There was a joy in it. I'm like, all right, how can I make people want to know who I am without them knowing it's me? So I started this little thing every morning, and then shortly afterwards every night, I'll start off with "Good morning, beautiful," or "Good night, beautiful." The idea behind it was it could be directed towards anybody, gender neutral. At the time period, it wasn't that big of an issue for me, but now I'm glad I did. And the idea was to make somebody feel comfortable. It would be some short little line I heard the day, or just, kind of me speaking from the heart. And it worked pretty well. I liked it a lot. I did it every morning, every night, and it was one of the most liked posts every single day, the hot yaks of the day, and night. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I figured something out. This is kind of working for me. And then the app gets shut down. Typical. So I'm like, all right, what's next? Around the same time period, an app called Fade came out. The idea, I think the mission statement was fade, nothing lasts forever. It's like a 24-hour Instagram post that if you post something, every like you get, it added 15 minutes to how long it would last for. And every dislike you got, it added subtracted a minute or something like that. The point doesn't matter. The idea was that it was supposed to be anonymous as well. Cool, something else I could do. But I was looking around, and so many people would post these amazing pictures of the areas around them with great high quality, and they would put so much effort into everything. It was so much better than anything I can accomplish. So what could I do that no one else could? And this is where it started. This is where I got my first, truly my opinion, my big idea. I was able to find the things that no one cared about. I know what you're thinking right now. You're probably like, all right, well, how's that going to help you? Well, I knew that what I could do was the exact opposite of what everyone else could do or accomplish. And I'm not saying that I didn't have the ability to buy some fancy equipment or whatever it might be, but I wanted to look for the things that everyone saw, but no one talked about. Kind of like the behind the scenes thing. So I would post, at the time period, food pictures. But I thought it'd be funny on my end, as like kind of an inside joke to myself, that I was going to post food pictures that people saw every day. And then make a little small quote or comment, caption on it. But the one I saw a lot of traction with, which I still to this day think it's hilarious, was mozzarella sticks. Now, why is that funny? I think I was 22 at the time period. I had never had mozzarella sticks. Never had fried cheese. But I'm like, some people thought it was kind of cute, kind of funny, that at random times in the middle of the night, I would start talking about mozzarella sticks. Kind of funny, right? It's like, oh, cool, he's just some drunk guy walking around. Maybe he's a pothead, you don't know. And he wanted cheese. He was hungry. But no one got the fact that I was sitting there giggling and being happy about it, not because I was getting food, but because I never had it before. And then right in the same time period, Snapchat started to become more and more of a thing. This is like almost 8 years ago now. I know I just said my age, but whatever. And somebody at the school started like an anonymous, like open or Snapchat, like it was the early stages of what would be referred to as like a public Snapchat. For the school, you submitted your videos, they would screen record it, and if they thought it was funny, they'd post it. So almost every night, I'd post myself walking from a bars or somewhere on campus to go get mozzarella sticks. But for the first like couple months, I never got it. So people just kind of out in public would walk to me and like, oh my God, you're the mozzarella stick guy. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? But I would still be happy and giggling and laughing because I never had it before, but they didn't know. And this is where I started realizing, I'm like, all right, find something that makes people laugh that everybody can do, but no one really wants to. Be that form of escape for somebody. I'm like, all right. And it worked out for a while. And then not too long after, I guess the person either graduated school or just stopped posting, whatever it might be. And that kind of died down too, as well as Fade did. But I started to get the footing of what I could potentially see myself doing in the future. So what do I do next? Didn't really have much else going on at the time period. I mean, had a decent amount of friends, whatever, cool. It wasn't until I graduated college where I started to kind of branch out and do a little bit more. As soon as I was done with school, I got my degree, econometrics, environmental economics. I wanted something else to do. I wanted something else to accomplish. I was in the service industry for a while, and I was pretty good at it. Like, I mean, the place I was at, I did well at. I did well. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm like, all right, well, what else can I do here? Can I evolve more in this field, this career path, potentially you want to call it? Or do I move on and do something else? I'm like, you know what? I've never tried bartending yet. I've already kind of mastered the serving thing. Let me try bartending. The place I was at, I won't say names. I asked if I could start bartending, and they told me absolutely not. It sucks. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to start venturing out other places. I asked the owner of the place I went to a lot in college, the restaurant that also was a very popular bar at night, if I could bartend there. She told me pretty much straight up, they don't need one right now, but I could start as a server. If the opportunity came up, it'd be discussed later if I could, have that position. So I did both jobs. And one day I was in a crossroads. Do I keep on sticking at the serving spot I'm already at where I'm making a lot more money? Or do I go to this other place where I could potentially become a bartender, do more, make less in the process, and essentially have a different career path, or at least something else to do in life. So I did. And I chose the bartending path. Wasn't bartending right away, but a few months later I was given the opportunity to start doing so. I was absolutely horrible. I was the slowest one. I didn't know how to make a single thing. By no means was I qualified for this position. But I had the same mindset that I had beforehand. I'm going to try to find something that I can do that everybody else can do, but no one's doing. I chose to start bartending in the way that I made people feel comfortable, because what I saw going to a bar, going out, was was an escape from reality. I wanted to be the reason, the beacon, why someone would go out and have their day change to be better. So it didn't matter how bad or good of a day I was having, I made sure that they had a good one. So I might have been the worst person to make drinks. I wasn't that fast. But people kind of sort of liked me. I'm like, all right, this is working. What can I do with this? It wasn't until long after I was definitely one of the more popular people in the area when it came to wanting to go out. People went out of their way to go see me. I was being recognized like I wanted before, and it started to work. And then it happened. TikTok. Made a few random viral videos like everyone else does, and it kind of sort of worked. And it truly finally did hit me. I wanted to be on the social media platform doing something that made me happy, and that was bartending. So I woke up one day and I'm like, all right, well, what can I do on this app that involved bartending? Because I already know I'm good at it in a certain aspect that most other people never would really look at. I would follow a bunch of creators who, made amazing videos. And I'm like, wow, they're so much better than me at that. They can make some amazing drinks. Oof, yeah, I can't do that either. And I kept going through the line. I'm like, what else can I do that no one else can do? And as a joke, I said to myself, well, it seems like I could bitch a lot better than the rest of them. So I went with that aspect. I'm like, all right, how can I make people happy while doing something that I feel as if I'm good at, which is complaining? And I started doing like the behind the scenes thing, like what a bartender thinks in the industry to make sure customers know how it really is. And it started to work. Not bad from the get-go. I made a few more viral videos, started getting a following. And I saw a video about Mr. Beast, about how when he was growing up, I feel as if him and I have a very weird, similar mindset. He always knew that he wanted to accomplish something, he just didn't know how he was going to do it. Everyone kind of seemed like he was crazy with it. And he didn't, like I said, he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he knew how he was going to get there. And how he was going to get there is to keep on trying new things until something worked for him. And for me, it was strange. Because I was always motivated by not the fact that I wanted to be famous, but it's because I wanted to be noticed. And I think I'm finally starting to get to that point. I know this is a random ramble video. I just kind of wanted to sit there and talk for a second. But I think I'm getting close to something. And if you seem to think so, do me a favor, hit me with a follow, hit me with a subscribe. We'll talk about this. Hit me in the comments. So with that being said, guys, as always, have a great day, y'all.